Well, hello there. You're listening to the Sort Yourself Out podcast. Today, I'm talking to transformational speaker and master coach Chris Rickstrew about how we can find our true purpose and unleash our potential. I'm your host, Janine Hunt, natural health therapist for over 30 years, hypnotherapist, lifelong learner, and student of the Ageless Wisdom. Here on the Sort Yourself Out podcast and in my Better Than Happy Zone membership, I teach powerful top-down techniques and practices so that you can master your mind and emotions, free yourself of what's holding you back, expand your consciousness, and nourish your soul. So let's get started. Well, hello there, and thank you so much for joining me today. I've got an inspiring show for you as I'm talking to my special guest, Chris Rickstrew, about how we can level up our lives and find our true purpose and really unleash our potential. Chris is a transformational speaker, master coach, and founder of a personal development brand called 8 Billion Lions. Chris knows all about the path we are on of sorting ourselves out because when he was 27 years old, he got to where he really thought he wanted to be in life. But in his words, it sucked. So he downsized his company and gave away all of his stuff and bought a one-way ticket to Asia. He spent the next 3 years of his life living in Thailand, Bali, and Nepal. During those 3 years of soul searching, Chris discovered his passion and purpose in life. He coached thousands of people, and he started a business that he absolutely loves. Today, he's on a mission to lead a revolution that changes the world by bringing together people and helping them unleash their potential so that they can start living a life that they love. So let's dig right in now and get started with my conversation with Chris Rickstrew. Hi, Chris. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, how are you?
Great, thanks. How are you doing?
Very excited, super excited.
Well, I'm really pleased to have you here. So I touched on your story a little in my introduction, but I'd love to hear more about your search for deeper meaning in life that led you to where you are today. And also, just what is this business about 8 Billion Lions?
Okay, great. So yeah, the whole 8 billion lions thing started back when I was 27 years old. And I had been working really hard and I got to this point where I thought I wanted to be. And like you said, it sucked, which was really, really challenging for me because on paper, it looked like I was living the dream. You know, I was 27. I had just built and sold my first company. I was the CEO of my second company. I raised $500,000 from investors. I had 25 people working for me. I had the fancy car. And on top of all that, I was dating the girl that I thought I was going to marry. And so on paper, it was like, wow, I'm living the dream. The problem was, in reality, I was very unhappy and unfulfilled. You know, I would go home from work every day and I would open the door to walk inside. And it was just like, I felt this emptiness because I was so unhappy and unfulfilled. And that was really frustrating for me because I had sacrificed so much to get to this point. You know, I had sacrificed my relationships, my family, my friends, my health, all of this stuff to get to this point because, you know, I was taught that, you know, once you get here, then you'll finally be happy. And I wasn't. And that was such a heartbreaking feeling. It's like, you know, the analogy I use is imagine, you know, you're climbing a mountain and you spend your whole life climbing this one mountain and, you know, you're going through all the bumps and the bruises and the scrapes and the scratches and you fall down and you get up and you finally get to the top. And once you're at the top of the mountain, right when you're about to raise your hand in victory, like I made it, you look across the valley and you realize you climbed the wrong mountain. And that's the kind of feeling I had where it was like, oh, I just gave up so many years of my life and sacrificed so much to get to this point, and it's not even where I want to be. And that was really, really hard for me. And so that took me into this kind of soul searching journey where I started reading and writing and journaling and meditating and, you know, really looking inward for my happiness than outward. And that's when I had this massive realization that I had gotten to this point of unhappiness and unfulfillment and living this life that I don't love because I had spent my entire life listening to my head rather than my heart. And I'd spent my entire life chasing money rather than happiness. And the big thing is I spent my entire life chasing someone else's dream. And so in that moment, I made a promise to myself that for the rest of my life, I was going to follow my heart. And that led me to this moment that was pretty life-changing, where I was sitting across the living room from my girlfriend at the time, and we were having this argument back and forth. And there was something inside me that just said, it's over. And I remember this moment vividly because it changed my life forever. And I looked across from her and I said, I'm breaking up with you. And there was just dead silence. And her eyes filled with tears and my eyes filled with tears. And she got up without saying a word. She grabbed her keys off the counter and she walked out the door. And the moment the door slammed, it was like my entire future disappeared. Like we had everything planned out. I had my future planned out. It was like, I'm going to live this kind of life. And it disappeared in that moment. And I felt two things. I felt terror and I felt freedom. I felt terrified because literally my entire future just disappeared. But I also felt freedom because there was nothing in front of me, which means I could create anything. And so I went back and forth sitting on the couch, crying, not knowing what to do. And then I did the only thing I knew how to do, which is I closed my eyes, I put my hands on my heart, and I asked the universe or God or whatever you believe in, I said, what's next? And before I could even finish the word next, my heart said, India. And I opened my eyes and I said out loud, okay, I'm moving to India. And immediately my mind was like, what? India? Are you crazy? You hate traveling. You hate the heat. You hate germs. Like, why India? Of all places, why India? But I promised myself that I was going to follow my heart. And that's how I was going to live my life. So 6 months later, I downsized my entire company. I gave away all my stuff and I bought a one-way ticket to Nepal. My plan was to be gone 3 months and it ended up being 3 years. And so I lived at a yoga and meditation retreat in the Himalayas in Nepal. I lived in the jungles of Thailand, the beaches of Bali. And when I was in Bali, that's when I launched my coaching business. And I had another huge realization. I launched this coaching business. And in my first 8 weeks, I coached 100 people one-on-one. And after coaching those 100 people, it was like, I get it. I understand what the problem is. Everyone in the world is battling the same battle that I was, the battle between their head and their heart, or what I started calling your inner sheep and your inner lion. And everyone is fighting that battle. And your inner sheep, that's the version of you that holds you back in life, comes from a place of fear, excuses, self-doubt, lack of direction, procrastination. That's the version of us that we were trained to be. And then there's our inner lion. That's our heart. That's our soul. That's the version of us that we were born to be. That's a version of us that comes from a place of courage and love and passion and, all these different things. And so I realized that everyone is fighting this internal battle between that little sheep that, talks to you and whispers in your ear and creates doubt and fear. And then that inner lion that says, no, you can do it. Go after the life of your dreams. And so I started coaching people on this back and forth and started speaking around Bali. And then I realized people really need help with living an authentic life. Because when you listen to your inner sheep, it leads to this life that's inauthentic, that's unhappy and unfulfilling. But then when you have the courage to actually follow your heart, listen to your inner lion, you find your purpose and your passion in life, and you end up living a life that really inspires you. And so that's when I created the company 8 Billion Lions. The reason why it's called 8 Billion Lions is because 8 billion lions is our vision, which the vision is to live in a world where everyone is being their lion. Everyone is being their most authentic, greatest self, all 8 billion of us. So that's that's where that name came from, because that's the vision that I have, because I believe that every single person on this planet was born with greatness inside of them. Every person on this planet was born with a purpose, and everyone was born with this path that they're meant to live. And once you align with that, your life is a completely different kind of experience. So, I started that journey, 3 years ago as an unhappy, unfulfilled, miserable sheep. And then after this 3-year journey of soul searching, I became this lion who's fully aligned with my passion and purpose, running a business that I absolutely love, living the life of my dreams, and really going after why I exist. And I want that for everyone. And that's why I created the whole 8 Billion Lions brand. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing today.
I love that. So what does it take to be your inner lion then? How do we do that?
So the first thing that I've learned from this experience and doing all these different things, because now at this point, I've coached thousands of people on this stuff. And the first thing it takes is you have to know who you are. So many people, they're focused on, what do I want to do with my life? What do I want to do for work? All these different things. But before you can even really, truly figure all that stuff out, you got to figure out who you are inside. And that was something for me, when I was running that company and, being the CEO and trying to build this $100 million company. For me, I had no idea who I was, because I was trying to be someone that I was not. I was trying to be, what looked like successful. I was trying to be this person that everyone loved and everyone accepted. And I abandoned myself. I abandoned who I was as a person. And so the first step to being your lion is you got to know who your inner lion is. So, one of the great ways for anyone listening to this to figure out who your lion is think back to a time in your life where you felt absolutely unstoppable, whether it was for a day, an hour, a minute, but where you were totally connected to your greatest self. You feel like you're being your greatest self. You felt unstoppable. You felt connected. You felt alive and inspired. We all have one of those moments in our life. So think back to a moment where you were being your lion. And then what I want you to think about is, well, how would you describe that person? What are the characteristics of that person? And when you write those down, typically I have people write down 3 or 4 words that describe, that greatest version of themselves. Like for me, it's confident, bold, courageous, and fun. And so I look back to these moments where I was being my lion, where I was going for it, where I felt inspired and excited about life. And it was like every single time that guy was confident, he was courageous, he was bold, and he was fun. So when you can define your greatest self, when you can look back to when you were being that lion and actually put a personality onto it and characteristics, then you can realize, oh, that's who I really am. That's the person that I was born to be. And when I do this with people, it's crazy because we can look back to when they were children and they also had the same characteristics. We could look back to when they were actually free, because everyone was born a lion. We were trained to be sheep by the societies that we live in. But, you look at a kid and they are a lion. They are free. They're confident. They're bold. They're decisive. They know exactly what they want, exactly what they don't want. They have no self-doubt. They have total belief. And, they're just little balls of energy. They all have unique individual personalities. And so when you're tapping into your lion, what you're really doing is you're tapping into, this is the person that I was born to be. This is the person that I was before society turned me into this little sheep. And so when you can look at those words, and this is easy for anyone to do, you think about that time when you were being a lion, describe that person in 3 or 4 words and write those 3 or 4 words down. And then instantly you have a frame of reference to look at where it's like, oh, this is who I really am. I'm confident. I'm courageous. I'm bold. I'm fun. Oh yeah, I remember who I am. And so that's the first step to this whole process is you got to figure out who you actually are. And that is by far the easiest way to do it.
Well, that's really great. And so often we get this stuff bashed out of us as children so that we conform to the cultural stereotypes wherever we live of what success is. And it is usually based on money. Get a good job, have security.
Yep, exactly. And that's the thing, like, when I talk to people about this, we all have a very similar story where we were born with this greatness inside of us. We were fully self-expressed. We were living life. And then we learned a word that really changed things for us. And that first word was no. No, don't do that. No, no, no. And as children, we're developing and we're learning and we're taking everything in. And we are taught no. And no is what actually starts to create the sheep in us. We're being fully self-expressed. We're saying things we want. We're running around. We're doing what we want. And then our parents, not because they're bad, but because they want to protect us. They want us to fit in, whatever it is. They say, no, you can't do that. No, don't do this. No, don't say that. No, no, no. And so we start learning at a very young age that who I am, that greatness inside of me is not good.
Yeah.
I need to suppress that. And then what happens is, we learn that love is conditional. If I'm being self-expressed and I'm being myself and I'm doing this, and my mom doesn't like it, she's going to say no, and she's going to punish me by taking her love away from me.
Yeah.
So when I don't act how mommy wants me to act, she's going to stop loving me. But if I act how she wants me to act, she's going to give me love. So we are trained just like animals. When you're a good boy or a good girl, we give you love. When you're a bad boy or a bad girl, we take love away. And then they throw us into this schooling system that I call is just a giant sheep factory, where it's like, we are taught to follow the rules, and you're a good person if you get good grades and you study, and you're a bad person if you don't. And here's how you got to fit in, and here's how you do that. And so we come out of the schooling system just completely confused and lost, and have an identity crisis. Am I this person, or am I who everyone wants me to be? And then they drop us into, the workforce and corporate America, and it's just a bigger sheep factory to, by the time people get into their 40s, they're living this life, but it's completely inauthentic, but it's the life that they were trained to go after. And that's the crazy thing, is like, we are all born with our own dreams, but we're taught to chase someone else's. Get good grades in school so you can go to a good college, so you can get a good degree, so you can get out of school and get a job, and then you can buy a car and buy a house and have 3 kids and have a white picket fence, and then you'll finally be happy. That dream made one person really happy, but that dream is not made for 8 billion people. There are 8 billion different dreams out there. And that's the thing, when you start to align with your lion, you start to actually live the life of your dreams, not the life that you were sold on living. And that makes a huge difference.
Yeah. So besides that, what are the benefits of being our lion?
One of the biggest benefits is you start living this life that truly inspires you. I wake up and I look at my life, and literally the life that I'm living right now, I wouldn't trade it for anyone else's. Not the most famous celebrity or the greatest athlete or the best musician or the greatest coach of all time. Like, I wouldn't trade my life for anyone else's, because I am so inspired by the life that I'm living. It literally feels like I'm in a movie sometimes. Like, the things that line up and the serendipity and the things that happen, it's just like, this is too crazy. This is too good to be true. And I'm actually doing what I love. My dream is to, inspire people and to speak. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. And so one of the greatest benefits of being your lion is you start to live a life that you absolutely love. And for some people, that's hard to believe, because most people are living a life that really drains them. And I always say, when it comes to being your lion or your sheep, if you're going to be a sheep, you're going to live a life that retires you. Versus if you live the life of a lion, you're going to live a life that inspires you, where you're going to wake up and you're excited and you're enthusiastic and you have purpose and you have passion. But the thing is, it takes something to actually be your lion, because we live in a society of sheep, where they say, do the same thing, follow the crowd, stick to the status quo. And so the huge benefit to being your lion is you live a life that inspires you. The other benefit that you really have is you live an authentic life. So many of us, we are living an inauthentic life. We're not being the person that we were born to be. We're not doing the work that we were born to do. We're not in the relationships that we were born to be in. We're not making a difference in the world that we were born to make. And so we're living this completely inauthentic life. And it might be a great life, but it's not a great life for you. And that's the experience I had. It's like, man, I'm 27 and I'm making it. I'm about to become a multimillionaire, all this stuff. And it's like, that's a great life. It just wasn't great for me because it was inauthentic to me. And so I had built this palace that actually ended up being my prison, because it wasn't what I wanted. And so when you start to be your lion, you start to align with a life that is truly authentic to you. And that authenticity is so powerful, because you start just being who you were born to be. And that's one of the biggest benefits that I've seen for myself personally, is like, who I am right now on this show is who I am when I, close my computer and I go have breakfast with my friends, or when I'm talking to my girlfriend, or when I'm with my family. Like, I'm just me in all different areas. Like, this is who I am. This is me. And that's it. So many of us, we walk around and we have 12 different characters, that we play during the day. Like, you're a different person with your husband than you are with your best friend, than you are with the person at the grocery store, than you are with a coworker. And we put on all these different masks and identities, and it's exhausting. And so when you start living like a lion, you just start being the person that you are, and you naturally attract people to you that actually love that about you.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think as well, I don't know where you stand on this sort of thing, but I believe that we reincarnate, and that each time we reincarnate, we are here to cultivate our purpose, and that we have skills and talents that we have been cultivating across all of our countless lifetimes. And so we're not born empty.
Mm,
We're empty in one sense in that we have free will and can develop all sorts of things. But for many of us, we've already got a certain path laid out for us that we've been developing over countless lifetimes that we're going to be continuing in this one. And
absolutely.
and this, like you say, it's just what we're here to do. And to have it overlaid by all of the cultural crap, and you're just swimming in the crap, trying to get your head above it. It's
Right.
not healthy for us. And it just does not lead to a fulfilling life.
Totally. And that's the thing. Like when you start living like a lion and you truly start following your heart, because that's what it really is. When I say, what would your lion do? I'm really asking, what would you do if you're following your heart? That intuitive, gut feeling that we all have, that inner knowing that we all have, that we're all born with. And it's like, there's so many people that I coach when it comes to passion and purpose, and they want to find their purpose, and they'll read books on it. They'll take online courses on it. But the reality is the easiest way to find your purpose is to follow your heart, is to listen to your lion, do what your lion would do. You wake up in the morning and it's a Saturday and you think you should go downstairs and, read a book or start journaling or whatever. And you ask yourself, well, what would my lion do? And it's like, I want to go for a walk. And you end up going for a walk. And on your walk, you find this coffee shop and you walk in, you meet your soulmate. Or you meet someone who's a potential business partner and you find your passion in life. And so it's like, I truly believe that we were all born with a purpose. Everyone was born with a purpose. And when you find that purpose, it's one of the best things in the world. Like when I discovered my purpose of speaking and inspiring people, it literally felt like this is what I was born to do. It's like an eagle was born to fly. An eagle is never going to be fulfilled if it's like swimming in the ocean. It's, first of all, it's not going to be good at swimming because it wasn't born to. And so many people are doing things that they were not born to do, and they're not very good at them.
Yeah.
So many people, 80% of people in the US hate their jobs, because they're doing work that they were not born to do. An eagle is never going to be good at swimming because it wasn't born to swim, it was born to fly. But you throw an eagle into the air and it's going to soar effortlessly because that's what it was born to do. And it's that same kind of feeling when you find your purpose. It's like you're naturally good at it. It feels like you were just born to do it. And the way that you find that purpose is you start to follow your heart. What would my lion do today? What would my lion do in this situation? What would my lion do this? And then what happens naturally is you start working with yourself and the universe. And there's this path that's carved that you start walking down. And then you start to have these little miracles pop up, and you meet this person, you get this opportunity, and you see this thing, and you read this book, and all these amazing things start to line up. And then before you know it, you're aligned with your passion and your purpose in life, and you're living a life that inspires you. And, for me, I went on that journey, and it was a 3 or 4 year journey of soul searching. But once I realized, what I had gotten to, I looked back over those 3 or 4 years and I'm like, how did I get to this point? Like, how did I find my passion and my purpose when I was absolutely, totally lost? And it was really simple. I followed my heart, because I believe we all have this internal guidance system. Like our heart and soul has a map to our destiny and our purpose. And if you have the courage to actually follow that, then you're going to find it.
That's a key word there as well, courage.
Yes, absolutely.
So where did the inner sheep come from?
So we kind of hit on that a little bit, but
Yeah.
that early conditioning when we're kids, it's the status quo. It's, we have a collective consciousness, and you look at different societies and they have different belief systems. But, when we're children, we're running around, we're free, we can do whatever we want. And then we are taught, hey, who you are is not good. You need to be this way. You need to fit in. You can't stand out, and then we live this life of sheep. If you look at sheep, an entire, herd of sheep is controlled by a guy with a stick and a dog, and it's like, for them, it's just like, stick together, stay safe. We're scared. Like, just go with the pack. Like, don't stand out. The sheep that stands out is going to get attacked by the dog. And so it's like, just stay together, stay together. You look at lions and they walk around, the safari like they own the place, because they do. No one messes with the lion. They can do whatever they want, whenever they want. And so it's like, we were like that when we were children. We did whatever we wanted, whenever we wanted. And then we had the shepherd come along with their stick and say, no, you can't do that. You need to act like this. This is what a good little boy does. This is what a good little girl does. If you're a boy, you should like these colors. If you're a girl, you should like these colors. If you're a boy, you should wear these clothes. If you're a girl, you should wear these clothes. And so we get this programming and this conditioning And I really believe like this is why, there are a lot of teenagers who go through this identity crisis, because they're like, I know who I am, but everyone's telling me to be something that I'm not. And then they start to rebel, and they start to fight the system. And most of them get beat into the system, where it's like, nope, you got to follow the rules. You're going to get trouble in school. You got to follow the rules or you're going to, lose your job and then you can't afford food. Like you have to fit into the system, because unfortunately, that's the kind of society that we live in, is, this system of following the status quo and mediocrity. And you look at your greatest self, your lion, that's your greatness. Your sheep is your mediocre self. That's mediocrity. And we live in a society where we are surrounded by mediocrity. We're surrounded by sheep, and it is the status quo, and it is pushed onto us from an early age. And if we're not aware of it, it's very, very hard to come out of it.
Yeah. So what is the best way that we can continue to be a lion once we start on that path?
So the big thing that I've noticed and realized over these years of coaching everyone is that the most important thing that you need. So you've woken up, right? I've got these two people inside of me, my sheep and my lion, my ego and my soul, my head and my heart, whatever you want to call it. But I've got these two people inside of me that are battling. And you have to understand that your sheep is usually much stronger than your lion. And the reason why is because you make so many choices in alignment with your sheep, because we grew up in a society full of sheep. When someone says, I want to start a business, your lion might say, I want to start a business. And your sheep says, oh, you don't know how to start a business. You didn't graduate from college. You don't have enough experience. You don't know how to do this. You don't know how to do that. And your lion's like, no, we can figure it out. We can learn, but your sheep is going to stop you and it's going to hold you back. And then the problem is we live in a society full of sheep. So you tell your friends you're going to start a business. They're like, wait, you're going to start a business? You don't know how to do that. You've never started a business. That's risky. Don't do that. No. You've got a really good job. Why would you leave your job? You're crazy. Different things like that. And so what I've realized that people need more than anything is they need to surround themselves with other lions. Like trying to go on this journey alone is very difficult. I know for a fact, because I did it for 3 or 4 years. And it is extremely challenging trying to be the greatest version of yourself when you're surrounded by mediocrity, when you're surrounded by people who expect certain things from you, when you're surrounded by a status quo. And so I think the most important thing for everyone, once they realize that I've got this sheep and this lion inside of me, is to surround yourself with people who also have the same realization. People who also understand that, yeah, there are these two people inside of me, and I want to follow my heart. I want to live the life of my dreams. And so whether that's you going out to a meetup group, in personal development, or finding an online coaching session or a group coaching session or a networking, group or whatever it is, but you got to surround yourself with people who believe in what you believe in. I always say, like, if you want to be a lion, surround yourself with lions. If you want to be a sheep, surround yourself with sheep. And so it's so important, because so many of us, especially in personal development, we're trying to do this journey alone. We're reading our books alone. We're watching our YouTube videos alone. We're taking our online courses alone. Now we're even taking our seminars that used to be in person. We're doing those alone, sitting at our computer on a Zoom call. So we're doing all of this stuff alone. And that's exactly what your sheep wants. Because if your sheep can get you alone, it's going to kick your butt most of the time. Because every choice you make, you're feeding either your sheep or your lion. And for most of us, we feed our sheep way too much. So when you try to fight your sheep walks in and it's like got a 6-pack and it's buff and it looks like, the Terminator. It's like, I'll be back, and it's like just so strong and it'll kick your butt every time. And your lion is like a little cat. It's like starving. It's like, meow, because we never feed it.
Yeah.
And so every single choice you make, you're feeding one or the other. And that's why the most important question I believe that you can ever ask yourself is, what would my lion do? What would my lion do? What would my lion do? Your alarm clock goes off in the morning. What would my lion do? Someone cuts you off in traffic. What would my lion do? You want to start a business. What would my lion do? You're thinking about quitting your job. What would my lion do? When you can start to ask yourself that question, the amazing thing is, the answers immediately. What that greatest version of you would do. You know it. You can feel it. It's instant. It's this inner knowing. And the thing is, every time you make a choice in alignment with that lion, in alignment with that greatest self, you start to align with your purpose. You start to feel more confident. You start to feel more happy and fulfilled. But it's hard to do that alone. So if you can surround yourself with other people who are doing the same thing, they will see that greatness inside of you and they will hold you accountable to it.
Yeah.
So
And it's a
don't do
really
it alone.
strange thing in life that it's often our friends and family. They don't like it too much when we decide to change,
Yes,
and they don't understand it. They don't get it. And very often we have to dissociate ourselves from people. It doesn't necessarily mean we have to terminate our relationships with them, but, they stop being the person that we take advice from, or that, we confide in, even because quite often if you tell your cherished dream about your purpose and what you really want to do in life to one of those fellow sheep, they are not going to take it that well. They're not going to be happy for you. They're not going to understand. They're going to be probably resentful because they can see you making your way off into the distance from them. And also,
totally.
you're holding up a mirror to them,
Absolutely.
and that can be quite tough for a lot of people to think, geez, they're going off and doing their thing, and here I am just stuck in my 9 to 5 thing I hate. It really does take that courage to make that step.
Absolutely. Like when you start living like a lion, everything is going to change. Like everything changes. Your relationships with your family, like it all changes because you start being the person that you're born to be. And there are going to be people in your life that love you for that. They're going to support you. They're like, this is who I've always seen you as. I'm so glad you're stepping into your potential and you're finally being the person that I knew you were this whole time. And then there are going to be people who are going to be like, you know what? You've changed. I don't really like it. I don't know what's going on, but you're not the you that I used to know. Like, I don't know what's happening, but I just don't like this. And like you said, like it's confronting for people when we live in a world of mediocrity, and that's the status quo, and that's what's expected. When you start being great, when you start being different, when you start going against the status quo, you trigger the insecurity in other people because they can see like, oh man, look at, he actually had the courage to go for it. Oh wow, look at how happy he is. Look how fulfilled he is. Oh my gosh. And then people realize how unfulfilled they are. They see how fulfilled and how excited and how passionate you are, and then they look at themselves, and it is a mirror, and it triggers this insecurity. And so there are going to be people that do not support you, and they're going to be, and the hardest thing is sometimes it's your family.
Yeah.
And but that's okay. I believe that that's part of your journey, but you have to be able to distance yourself enough to where they can't influence you or hold you back and hold you down, because the reality is you're already fighting the biggest battle of your life internally. You're fighting this sheep, which is like this 10-headed dragon, which is hard enough to fight on your own. When you add in one person that you love and they're fighting with the sheep against you, it can feel impossible. So I was so lucky because when I went on this journey, I left the country. I went to a third world country. I couldn't even really talk to my family very often. So that was helpful. But the great thing as well is that, I have a family that really believes in me and encourages me and trusts me. At first they were like, what the heck are you thinking? Now they're like, wow, that was a great decision that you did that, because they can see the results. And that's the amazing thing is, in the beginning, when you start living like a lion, there's going to be a lot of doubt from yourself, from other people, especially the people that know you the most, like your family and friends. But then you're going to start getting results. Then things are going to start happening. Then you're going to start building momentum. And those people who once doubted you now believe in you. They're going to look at you and say, wow, I've never seen you so happy before. Or wow, you started that business and it's actually working out. Or wow, you're so passionate and lit up. And they're going to go from this place of doubting you to believing in you, and then wanting to know what it is that you did.
Yeah, that's a really important step there. That's that
Yes,
wonderful thing about you uplift yourself and you automatically uplift the people around you.
absolutely. And they'll be wondering, what is it that you're doing? How are you so passionate? How are you so alive? How are you so excited? How are you running this business that you love when I'm running a business that I hate?
Yeah.
And then that's when you can really start to support them and help take them out of their sheep and into their lion. Because the thing is, everyone was born a lion. We're just walking around in sheep's clothing. And so when you can start to show your greatest self and show your truest, most authentic self, you start to influence the people around you to do the same. That's when we start to have this ripple effect. And that's why my vision is 8 billion lions, because, I believe that we are all born to be this authentic, greatest self. And the more people that do it, it will eventually catch on and turn into some sort of movement or revolution, because so many people are going to see so many other people happy and fulfilled. And they're going to say, I want that. How do I get it? And so that's why I had to create this super simple system to help people actually start living that life. And that question, what would my lion do? I'm telling you, is like, if you want to become a lion, that is the most important thing you can ask yourself. I ask myself that question at least 100 times a day. Like, it is, what would my lion do? What would my lion do? What would my lion do? It's like, it is the thing that I ask myself more than anything else. And I've asked myself that thousands and thousands of questions over the last 3 or 4 years, which is why I am where I am today, where I'm aligned with my purpose and I'm passionate and inspired and fulfilled. It's because I listened to that lion. And the two things that people need to really listen to your lion is, first, you need courage. And the second thing is you need faith. You need courage to do the things that scare you, because your lion is going to tell you to do a lot of scary stuff. And your sheep's going to say, no, 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 no. We can't do that. You can't quit your job. You can't move here. You can't do this. You can't ask that person out on a date. You can't ask for that raise. You can't do this. And so your lion is going to challenge you, and you're going to have courage to take action in alignment with that. So the first thing is you need the courage to do the things that scare you. And the second thing is you need the faith to believe it's going to work out. So whether you believe in God, the universe, source, whatever it is that you believe in, you have to have some sort of faith that when you take action in alignment with your greatest self, it's going to work out. My level of faith when I started this journey was very low. My level of faith now, at the point in the journey that I'm on, it's unstoppable. Like, nice. I'm taking leaps of faith left and right, left and right, left and right, because, when you take a leap of faith, after a while, you jump off the cliff and that there's a net at the bottom, or something's going to catch you, or you're wearing a parachute. You just didn't realize it until you're halfway down. But the universe always supports you and always rewards you for following your heart, for listening to your intuition, for being that greatest version of yourself. And so you will always be rewarded. It's just having the courage to take action on it and having the faith to believe it's going to work out. And again, that goes back to the point where you have to surround yourself with other people who are doing the same thing. Because when you don't have the courage, they will push you to have the courage. When you doubt yourself, they'll believe in you. And when you have doubt in the universe, they'll remind you, hey, it's always going to work out. It always has worked out. It's always worked out for you. You've got this.
Yeah.
And then you start to realize, okay, I can do this. And then there's this amazing moment that starts to happen where you have this realization of, wow, I'm actually living the life of my dreams. This is really exciting. I'm really inspired. And I wouldn't change my life for anyone else's. And when you get to that moment, you are completely unstoppable. You're aligned with your purpose. And it's just a matter of time before you take off in whatever it is that you're meant to do.
That's fantastic. So speaking of support, I believe that you are very generously offering listeners a really amazing opportunity of a free one-on-one coaching call, so that you can help people to uncover their inner sheep.
Yes.
And help them to take control of their future and really start making some powerful choices that will have a really powerful, positive impact on their lives and help them to make changes. So that sounds really amazing to me. So, Chris, why don't you tell us where people can contact you about this wonderful opportunity and where in general they can find you online?
Okay. So for all the people listening, I want to give them a gift of a coaching call. And it's called a Meet Your Sheep coaching call. And the reason why I say meet your sheep is because we gotta meet your sheep just like you would meet another person, because you got to figure out your sheep if you want to figure out what's holding you back. So this coaching call is for anyone who feels stuck, they feel held back, they feel like, there's something that's stopping them from moving forward. They're not living the life of their dreams. And what we're going to do in this call is we're going to uncover your inner sheep. So we're going to define your sheep's characteristics. And then the other thing we're going to do is we're going to discover the number one weapon that your sheep uses against you to hold you back in life, whether it's fear, excuses, self-doubt, lack of direction, procrastination, overthinking. Everyone's sheep has a different weapon that they use against you to hold you back. And so we are going to define that, because once you're clear on what's actually holding you back, what's stopping you, then you can actually move forward powerfully. So this is a one-on-one coaching session that I do with my clients. This is typically $400, but I'm going to give it away absolutely free to any of your listeners as a gift for listening, especially if they got this far. If they got all the way through, then they deserve a gift because their lion is taken over. Their sheep's like, oh, I need to switch to a YouTube video. Oh, this happened. And so, it's a one-on-one coaching session with me. We do a video Zoom call. It's recorded, so they will have access to it for their entire lives if they need to go back to it. But they will walk out of this call completely empowered and clear on what's holding them back and how to move forward. And that's going to be really, really powerful and really valuable. So if they want to schedule that call, they just go to meetyoursheep.com and they can schedule a call right on my calendar. And then they can follow us on Instagram at 8 Billion Lions. It's the number 8 billion with a B, Lions on Instagram. And then the website is 8billionlions.com. And so if you want to start living like a lion, if you want to defeat that inner sheep and live a life that you love, then that is the best way to start. And so the people right now who are listening and they're like on the fence, like, should I schedule the call or should I not? I have a really simple way for you to figure it out. Just ask yourself, what would my lion do?
Nice.
And you know instantly, what would my lion do? Now, for some of you, your lion's going to say, I would schedule the call. Of course, I want to figure out who the sheep is. I want to figure out what's holding me back. I'm sick of being stuck. If that's you, then go to meetyoursheep.com right now and book the call. Don't even think about it, because if you give your sheep time to, talk you out of it, it will. For those of you where your lion says, I wouldn't book the call, don't book the call. Like, you have to listen to that inner lion. You have to listen to your intuition. You have to listen to your gut. So in your heart and soul, when you say, what would my lion do? If it says book the call, book it. If it says don't book the call, don't. Because this is the first decision that you can literally make. You just went through this process of listening to this and learning that you've got these two people inside of you, and you learn the ultimate tool, the ultimate question, what would my lion do? Now you actually get to practice it, which is extremely powerful, because now you have a perfect example of what to use it on. And I promise you, if you listen to that internal knowing, it will change your life.
Thank you very much, Chris. It's really exciting. I'm really grateful that you're offering this to the listeners.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining me today. It has been such a pleasure talking with you. You're a really inspiring guy, and I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you. I did too. I'm excited.
So there it is, my friend. I hope you've enjoyed my conversation with Chris Rickstrew. He's such an inspiring guy. So once again, you can get your free coaching call at meetyoursheep.com and visit Chris's website at 8billionlions.com. And that's the number 8billionlions.com. And I'll put links to those in the show notes. And if you're up for some more inspiration and ready to sort yourself out, don't forget to check out my Better Than Happy Zone membership. Have a look at betterthanhappyzone.com. At the moment, I'm offering a 14-day trial for just $1 so that you can get in the zone and test it all out and see what you think. Okay, thanks so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Take care, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now. Thanks so much for listening and for sharing this podcast and for subscribing and leaving me a lovely 5-star review on iTunes. Those things really help to get the podcast out there so that it can serve more people. If you have any questions or would like me to address a certain topic, I'd love to hear from you. You can email me at info@theinspirationcloud.com. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.